North Beach Podcast in partnership with TSN. Welcome to Season 2. It is episode 19 of the Ray and Darren Hockey Podcast, presented by our new Ray and Darren title sponsor, Infinity. You can check out the QX80 full-size luxury SUV. It's big, bold, powerful. We're talking 400 horsepower, a 5.6-liter V8 engine, power and luxury rate, and it is together under one big, beautiful roof.
And right now, Drakes, if you get to Infinity, you can get up to 3 payments looked after by Infinity. Or you can lease semi-monthly from $599 at 0% for 18 months and $0 down. Get to infinity.ca for more and to book your contactless test drive today.
It is the Ray and Darren podcast presented by our friends at Infinity. You know, Ray, we asked on the Ray and Darren Twitter channel on Monday a poll question. It is the Canadian Club poll question. And we asked which of the 4 division leaders in points, Toronto, Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, Carolina, has the best chance to raise the Stanley Cup this year in honor of Canadian Club. Now, do you have any idea? Do you pay close attention? I know you watch everything that happens with the Ray and Darren socials. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But do you have any idea what the results are? Do you think we'll be surprised by what the pollsters submitted?
Well, I don't know the numbers, but I'm going to guess Toronto, Vegas, Pittsburgh, Carolina.
Ooh, interesting. Toronto, Vegas, Pittsburgh, Carolina. Vegas. Really? Absolutely slam dunked Vegas, which is nice because we've got Max Pacioretty of the Vegas Golden Knights on the podcast this week.
I wonder how many times he voted.
As you say that, I could just see Marc-Andre Fleury, for whatever reason, with his flippers just hammering Vegas. Vegas, 56%. 56% of those who voted going with the Vegas Golden Knights. The Toronto Maple Leafs, 18%. Carolina snuck ahead of the Pittsburgh Penguins. 13% for the Hurricanes, 12.5% for the Penguins. Look, we'll get into headlines momentarily. For me, I'm surprised at the Penguins' success this year.
Me too.
I'm not surprised by the individual success. Sidney Crosby is still a stud, and there are lots of good things to like about the Penguins. I guess it's the sum of the parts that I didn't see coming together in the fashion that they have.
I wouldn't have thought Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith would play goal like they have. I wouldn't have thought their defense could be as good as they are. And without Malkin, who's not the Malkin of old, but still he's a damn good player. I wouldn't have thought this could be, but man, Crosby, Gensel, Rust, they're all over 20 goals. That team's fast, and Mike Sullivan is a really, really good coach.
Really good coach. Yeah, I mean, talking about good coaches, you've got the Carolina Hurricanes, Rod Brind'Amour. Look, that deal's getting done soon. The extension for Rod Brind'Amour.
Well, it should.
It 100% should. Maybe before the playoffs. I mean, there's been some good dialogue, but you award good coaches, right? In most cities.
You see around the league, teams chase the good coach all the time. They're always trying to find it. If you have one, make sure he doesn't go anywhere else.
Well, Pete DeBoer is another with the Vegas Golden Knights. And as we've already teased, we've got Max Pacioretty of the Golden Knights joining us this week, episode 19 of the podcast. As we do every week, we're going to check in with Coolbet Chris from Coolbet.co. That's Chris Abbott looking back on this past weekend's UFC event, which I'll talk to Chris about this. I'm a bit of a fight fan, but it's so late at night on a Saturday. I'm getting old, Ray, and I kind of nodded off a couple of times. So I saw some of the fights, but I didn't see all of the fights. There's a horrendous injury, which, we don't need to see that. So I'm curious to see how it did with the books.
Probably. Yeah, I think there's lots of people that like it. I think lots of people would be interested in it. Yeah. You know what I don't like about the UFC? When they get down when they're grinding away the ground and pound and there's blood everywhere. I'm like, seriously, you guys.
Yeah. The grappling is a bit of a challenge. And you know what? It's how many times were you elbowed in the face as a player?
Look at my nose. As I told you, this was fixed.
And that hurt, right?
Yes.
It was accidentally on purpose by somebody, and it hurt. It hurt you. It maybe hurt the guy who elbowed you in the face. Who knows? But you see those incidents, both men and women, where the fighter is on the mat and the other fighter is just hammering the elbow into the forehead, into the temple, into the face. Like, what are we doing? They don't get paid enough. And some of those people make good money, but that's not enough. It's not enough.
Whatever it is, nope.
It's not enough. It's not enough. All right, let's move on to our headlines presented by Tim Hortons NHL Hockey Challenge. In the Tim's app, it can't be any simpler. Ray and I have done it, and we do it successfully day in and day out. That's how easy it is. You pick 3 players you believe are going to score in tonight's game, and you take your shot at winning Tim's reward points. And Ray, we've been having some fun playing. Maybe you a bit more fun than me. We haven't quite figured out how many points each of us have, but you're pretty confident that you have more than me. Is that fair?
Well, it would be hard to have less, wouldn't it? I mean, like you said, you have about 50. I mean, like that means you've gotten virtually nobody right yet.
Yeah, 50 might be a stretch. I may not have 50. I might not. I think I have at least 30. I don't we have to do a bit more research. I should know this off the top of my head because I am a Tim Hortons person, as are you, but this. I go there for the medium regular almost on a daily basis, right? I don't know how many points you need to get a free coffee. I feel like it. Yeah. Well, I should know this.
Well, I see maybe if you had enough to get a free coffee, you would know.
Maybe it sends you an alert. There's like an alarm.
Well, see, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know.
Yeah. See, we live in such a virtual world now. It is one of the true pleasures that I miss about my Tim Hortons experience. Holding up the rim to win. Remember that?
Isn't it amazing when you would win something? Didn't matter what it was. Yeah. What a charge.
Just awesome.
I want a donut. Yeah. And I'm like, yes.
And then my kids got old enough where they wanted the donut. They didn't care about the coffee, but they loved the experience of rolling up the rim. Well, you could still do it. You just have to do it virtually. So perhaps when the world gets healthy again, we'll have those.
Well, let's hope that soon, man.
All right. Headlines brought to you by the Tim Hortons NHL Hockey Challenge. Why don't we start with Connor McDavid? Why not, right? We're going to talk to Chris Abbott about some of the goings-on, the shenanigans they have working up at coolbet.co and whether Connor's going to hit 100 points this year. His 9th career hat trick, that matches somebody else.
I don't think people realize what an accomplishment 9 hat tricks is. I think he should be commended.
Yeah, 9 is a lot. And 9 is a lot, even though, some people have to play 24 years in the league to get 9.
43 years.
All kidding aside, 9 hat tricks. You speak from experience because that's what you finish your.
Yeah, I laughed when I saw it was his 9th. I was like, oh, that's he's 24. He's just getting started.
How many did you have with the Wheat Kings in the Western League?
I don't know. I do know. Well, I did get 7 goals in one game.
Yeah.
But I don't know. No. Yeah, no, I don't know. I think 15. I want to say 15.
Jeez.
It was a good year.
I think Connor's going to go by that in the NHL. I'm just throwing it out there.
Do you think he's the most advanced player ever? I think. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. Like starting with the speed and how everything he can do at top speed, right?
When he attacks, it's like he never, ever loses his stride. And his hands move at have to catch up to the feet that are moving faster than anybody else. Like
ridiculous.
The breakaway goal, his hat trick goal against Winnipeg. He got that loose puck kind of inside the blue line, kind of top of his circles.
Yeah.
And Pullman was chasing him. He didn't have a chance. It was like he still had the boxes on his skates.
Yeah.
It's amazing to watch McDavid skate. He got so far out in front, he actually shoulder checked to see how close everybody else was behind him. Like, who's got that kind of time on a breakaway?
He freezes you in the process because if you're a defenseman, you're just expecting something bad is about to happen. Right. He's going by you in some form. And the second goal for me, Ray, was that, okay, as you look at it after the fact, it's not utter sorcery, but he freezes Connor Hellebuyck, a Vezina Trophy winner, with almost like a fake shot. And the next thing you know, it's gone through him and it's in the net. And he couldn't wipe the grin off his face, not just because he scored the goal, but it was how he executed scoring.
Well, but Dregs, and the key is he's still doing it at a speed that is not comfortable for anybody else. So another player could go down, fake that shot, and Hellebuyck would catch up to it.
Yeah.
Like, Hellebuyck probably feels he should stop that, but McDavid's going fast enough. The fake, the step, the shot, Hellebuyck can't get his legs back down flat.
No.
I just love watching him play. I love watching him compete because he's clearly not ever satisfied.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say, as I tie to McDavid is I think one of the best stories in the league this year is Mike Smith.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got a .923 save percentage. I mean, he was a fallback position for Edmonton after the Markstrom deal didn't quite get done. They thought they were close with Markstrom. He decides to go to Calgary. And now they got Mike Smith.
Yeah.
And he's been lights out for them. I think it's a huge story in Edmonton.
Would you keep him and go out and find somebody younger that you're going to commit to longer term, but at least have a good guy, somebody who he's not handing the crease over, right? He's going to fiercely battle for the starter's job. But
the problem is the problem with that though, is you still got Koskinen at 1 year at 4.5.
Yeah.
So if you do that, unless you can find somebody to take Koskinen, you're going to have to buy him out. And then for 2 years, you're going to have some cap hit.
Fair. Yeah.
Right. And so that might prevent him coming back, but I would have, given the way he's played.
Yeah.
I mean, I know eventually the wheels are going to fall off and he's not going to stop anything. Happens to everybody, but it doesn't seem like it's right now.
All right. Let's lump two stories into one because they are connected, and we'll get to Winnipeg here. Again, doing that game on Monday night, I guess it was, Jets and Oilers. As good as the Oilers were, the Jets weren't good. They didn't look ready for that game. They look unmotivated, which is staggering given everything that has gone on in Winnipeg over the last week or so, right? I mean, they've lost 3 in a row for the first time. Now it's 4. But you had Paul Maurice pulling Connor Hellebuyck in a 1-goal game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's pissed. He's not happy about that. And he talked openly about why he was unhappy about it and felt like he deserved to stay in the fight, which I can appreciate. Then he benches his top forward in Mark Scheifele. Scheifele responds. Again, this is versus the Leafs. PR does a wise thing and doesn't give Mark Scheifele the microphone after the game, nor should he. So he needs a day to breathe and cool off. But then he comes out and says essentially the same thing. I didn't feel like I should have been benched. And then they lay an egg against the Edmonton Oilers. So what does that leave you with? Where are you now in that battle for second spot in the division?
The Jets have the blessing and the curse of having players and coach together for a long time.
Yeah.
The curse part of it is you get tired of listening to the same guy all the time. You get tired of playing with the same guys all the time. And there are times when it just gets rubbed raw. Mm-hmm. And you're like, you know what? I don't want to listen to him anymore. I don't agree with what he says. I don't agree with this player, whatever it is. That's the curse of being together a long time. The blessing is, because you've been there for a long time, the coach likes me. Yeah. The coach is a good coach. I need to get over this, and I will get over it in the time frame that whatever it takes. Some guys are quicker than others. I mean, I would get bent. Al Arbor would bench me from time to time. I hated him for it. But Al was an amazing coach and a terrific person. And so once I got past that, I hate Al, then I didn't hate Al anymore. And then the next game came. And I think that's probably the way for Scheifele and Hellebuyck, the way that this will play out. I'll tell you what they looked like to me. They looked rattled. The Ehlers injury was a kick in the pants to them.
Huge.
He's had an amazing year, and they don't have Adam Lowry. So now you've got 2 of your top 9 forwards, and what was probably as deep a top 9 as anywhere in the league. Now it's the top 7 and 2 other guys.
Yeah.
And so they look rattled to me.
I agree. I think that's a perfect way to put it. And Edmonton they look like a rested team. They look, there was talk of coming off that break as to could they be rusty, all these things. I apply the same logic to that I do if there's a discrepancy in the time off between the end of the regular season for some teams and the start of the playoffs. I think anybody that's going into the postseason that has 3, 4, 5 days off is going to welcome it and say, you know what, mentally I'll stay sharp. Physically, I need this 3, 4 day, 5 day break to kind of freshen up and get ready for the grind.
Whatever the rust is in that, I'll take it.
Yeah.
That rust will come off fast. Like it maybe a couple of shifts or a half a period or whatever, but man, that rest is, it's a gift.
Yeah.
If you can get it. Edmonton's 25-10-2 in their last 37 games. Like, this is not a fluke.
It's not.
And I look at the Oilers and I circled to my old teammate, Dave Tippett, who's behind the bench, and Tip knows how to coach.
Yeah. And
one thing that Tip has always been is his teams are pretty good defensively. They're always pretty sharp in that way. And the Oilers are a young team. And so whatever length of time it's taken to them to get here, they look like a playoff ready team that if they've got to win 2-1 or 3-2, they will. They'll grind that out. I don't think they were prepared to do that in the past.
Where were you as a player on assessing teammates who have been injured for a long time, but really you felt like they were close enough to play? And I'm making the leap to Freddie Anderson and the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? Time is dwindling. Just a number of games left before the conclusion of the regular season. It seems, ridiculous to me that Freddie isn't going to play before the end of the regular season. I think he has to get 2-3 games, doesn't he, to get back into game condition for the start of the playoffs. And then on top of that, you've got Sheldon Keefe, who's going to have to make a decision as, okay, is Jack rolling? I mean, Jack Campbell's been good the last couple of games. Is it his crease until it isn't his crease? And I'll come back to the point of the question and why I bring it up that way. And this isn't a knock on Freddie Anderson. It's just, he has to be close. He's just coming off of full practice. If you're around that room, would you just get in the net? Can you please?
Yes.
Just get in the net here.
Two things. Deal with that first. Yes, 100%. Unless they're unlike any team I played on, guys are saying, geez, he looks pretty good. When the hell is he going to play?
Yeah.
Like that. You can tell when a guy's just getting through, he only has a certain level of workload, or you go, you know what, that guy's ready to play. Now, you're no doctor, but it's just what you see and your experience tells you. The second part is, you said, doesn't he have to play a couple of games? 100% he has to play, because if he doesn't, and now he's healthy for the start of the playoffs, how are you going to put him in the net? Like, what happens if Jack Campbell gets hurt? What happens if Jack Campbell goes through a stretch like he did last week when everything was getting by him? Mm-hmm. What happens if he just returns to a 900 goalie, which is what he's been most of his career, and you want to put in Freddie, and he hasn't played in 2 months? Well, that doesn't make any sense. I think they've got to get him traction. They've got to give him a little bit of game action. He can practice and do whatever the hell he's doing. It's not the same. They've got to find a way to get him into a couple of games to, A, we talked about rust, bang the rust off. B, get him some game action. And C, let him build a little confidence that, I am game ready, because he can think it, but you need to see it.
All right. Well, look, we're going to post episode 20 of season 2 of the Ray and Darren podcast perhaps as early as the weekend, so we can dive a little bit deeper into the Maple Leafs, and maybe by then we'll have a better assessment of Nick Foligno, how he's fit in, some of the other ads for the Maple Leafs as well. Two things I want to get to before we shift gears: Montreal and just the desperation to get Cole Caufield into the lineup. I mean, that city was buzzing. The fans just couldn't wait to see this kid. The media kept harping on Berge, why are you playing him? I mean, we know the Montreal Canadiens have cap issues, and primarily that was the reason why it took so long for Cole Caufield to have his NHL debut. But, I chuckle because as dynamic as this young man likely is going to be in the National Hockey League was in college as a star at Wisconsin, I mean, he's 20 years old. He's 20 years old. I mean, how many guys at that age step into the National Hockey League and are automatic? Very, very, very few. It's too hard.
Almost nobody. Here's the thing. Montreal is a pressure cooker to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
2 is the team doesn't score any goals ever. None.
Yeah.
Cole Caufield scores goals.
Yeah.
So what Cole brings to the table is what Montreal needs. Now, he needs help creating the chances. I thought he was terrific in the opener in his first game. He had a couple of good chances, had a great chance his first shift of the game. But to expect him to alleviate your scoring problems is probably a stretch.
Yeah.
Now, they kicked around their salary cap a little bit here, and they've put themselves in a tough spot.
Right.
And so that's going to preclude Caufield from being much of a factor here until the end of the regular season. Let's not forget, once you get past the regular season, he can play. There's no cap. In he goes. And that kid can score. For me, he's an easy guy to cheer for.
For sure.
He plays with energy. He's got swag.
Does he ever? And you mentioned his first shift of the game. I mean, do you remember your first NHL shift? I'm sure you do, because you remember all of that. But Caufield tried to go short side shelf on his first shift of the game. I mean, why not? He's probably scored that goal 100 times.
That's the chance he wants, right? It doesn't matter where you're playing. He got into a position for that chance. If you look at that play, Dregs, Danault gets the puck in the neutral zone. Caufield's behind him. Mm-hmm. And he knows right away if he can get to the play, catch up to the play, he's going to get a chance.
Yeah.
You can see him start to put his head down to skate. He makes up the 5 or 7 feet. Then he gets it at the blue line. He shoots it over the net. My first shift ended up in a 5-on-5 scrum. About 5 minutes into a game against Boston. And I'm holding on to some guy that I hope just doesn't punch my lights out. And I got back to the bench and he pulled on my helmet and my earpiece was ripped off a little bit. And the guys were like, "Hey, welcome to the league." They thought it was hilarious, right? I was terrified.
That's tremendous. All right. Why don't we wrap up the headlines with, big business news this week. In fact, for the last few weeks, if you want to date back into March, when ESPN was first announced as coming on board as the main network for the National Hockey League, agreeing to a 7-year deal. ESPN as again, the main carrier in the United States. Turner Sports comes out of nowhere, publicly, I would say. Obviously, the National Hockey League did a fine job in negotiating this 7-year deal with Turner Sports to the tune of $225 schmil. That is a good amount of work and negotiating by the NHL brass. I mean, this includes all the coverage, of course, in game and playoffs and the Stanley Cup, but you've got the live streaming and digital rights across Warner Media. From a hockey standpoint, we're used to these types of deals in basketball, certainly in the NFL. But from a business standpoint, the NHL, at least in the US, has been criticized for decades of not bringing it to the table. Well, I would say that the league brought it to the table this time around.
Yeah, I found it to be impressive in particular because we're in the world we're in right now. Like, it's not an easy deal to negotiate at any time, but certainly given the way revenues are and and just the way the world is. I mean, like I thought it became more a crapshoot as time went on because there's so much uncertainty to negotiation at this point. Will be interesting to see how each network approaches their broadcasts, what they're going to look like, who's going to broadcast for them, when are the games going to be, like all that stuff. None of it's really been publicly acknowledged. So we're going to have to learn all that up, but it's an exciting time for the league. I do feel for the people dregs that we know at NBC. Yeah. Well, for all of them really, but of course, the ones are the ones and feel badly that that's a 10-year run and it's over. It's over at the end of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, wonderful employer for you and I and so many of our colleagues and friends. Tough for NBC, great partner for the National Hockey League, but as they say in business, business is business. It's time, Ray, for our OK Tire Performance Players of the Past Week. And our performance players are presented by our friends at OK Tire with over 330 locally owned OK Tire stores across Canada. It's coast to coast. Got you covered from top to tires. You can check them out at oktire.com. OK Tire. It's going to be okay. Have you got your performer of the week? I'm just assuming I think I know where you're going.
Well, I don't think you'll know.
Okay.
But I'm going to go with one of the hottest players in the NHL for about the past 6 weeks. And that's Mika Zibanejad of the Rangers.
Oh, nice.
I think he is, I don't know what happened early in the year. I know he wasn't quite healthy, and he just never scored. And it's like, well, what's going on here? Well, all of a sudden in the last 20 plus games, he has been unbelievable. He picked up a hat trick on the weekend in his last game. One of the most explosive players when he gets rolling in the league. He plays with Artemi Panarin, which does not hurt. But I'm going to go with Mika Zibanejad.
Very nice. I mean, you're not a tap-in kind of guy, even though you're a very good golfer. I mean, what I mean by that is you're not taking shortcuts, right? So I was just thinking, he's going to take Connor McDavid, big night against the Jets, the 9th hat trick, the tie-in to the Ray Ferraro career, all of that. But you dug a little deeper. I like it.
And are you going with Connor McDavid?
No, I'm going with Kaprizov from the Minnesota Wild. And the reason I am is I'm sure you
Kirill the Thrill.
The goal he scored, I believe it was his 20th. Was it his 20th or his 21st on Saturday
21st,
versus the Los Angeles Kings? Just, the talent just oozes out of this young man's game. I was going to say kid, but he's not a kid. I call him a young man. So just, again, the entertainment value of Kaprizov, the confidence in his game, just how he attacks, the vision, the skill, the hands, everything about it. That was on full display for me, and that goal scored on Saturday versus the LA Kings. So
when was the last time the Minnesota Wild had a player with jazz, with like with entertainment value, marquee value? Marian Gaborik?
Maybe.
This kid's got it. There's something magnetic about him. Just watch him play.
All right, Mika Zibanejad and Kirill Kaprizov are OK Tire performance players of this past week. Canadian Club Over Beer, Ray, presents our interview today with Vegas Golden Knights' Max Pacioretty. Now, I feel like I need to explain the over beer part, because I don't know that I did a good enough job in episode 18 of Ray and Dregs of doing that, because there is a bit of a tag here, right? It's the Canadian Club Over Beer interview. And over beer means, you and I like beer. We like a cold beer on a warm day. I mean, yeah, of course we do. But you can get over beer because I get filled up on beer pretty easily. So I'll have a couple of beers on a cold day, maybe on the golf course. Maybe have several if I'm not playing particularly well. But then you get over beer and you want something cold. You want something refreshing. You want a CC and ginger, right? That's the over beer part. So it's not a slag against beer. It's a recognition that we have refined tastes.
Yeah, but you can like both.
100%.
But the CC and ginger, the thing that you talked about, the fresh ginger, that's the part I got to get to.
Okay.
That's the part I got to get to.
We're calling it the Draeger style. So you're going to have to practice. You're going to have to sample responsibly.
Draeger style, what is the size of the mug you have that thing in?
Well, it's an old Bob McKenzie reference because Bob McKenzie would always order a rum, right? You've been on the road with Bob several times. And
sometimes Bob would change the rum. That would be the big. But that would be the big change.
Yeah, but he would always go with a tall glass, lots of ice. Yeah, and then Diet Coke, right? So we're not doing that here, but I do like the idea of the tall glass and the lots of ice. So if we're going to Ferrero or Draeger style it, we're going to have the tall glass, lots of ice. Then we're going to go with the CC, Canadian Club, obviously, a nice refreshing ginger ale. Now, I'm going to shave a little bit of fresh ginger ale in there.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah, it's a little bite. You want to overdo it, though, because ginger is spicy, Ray. Ginger is a spicy, is it a fruit? Is ginger a fruit? It's a root. So what is it?
A fruit?
Yeah, I don't know. What is it? It's a root.
Fruit? Well, ginger is not a fruit. It's a root vegetable.
Okay. All right. I don't know.
A fruit? An apple is a fruit.
Is a tomato a fruit?
A tomato's a tomato.
Tomatoes.
No, yes, tomato is a fruit.
See, I tried to suck you into my stupidity by referring to ginger.
But see, you should know better. You're a farmer.
You're right. Or
you were at one point.
At one point, and I've never grown ginger, but I may start just in honor of Canadian Club and
I like it.
The CC and ginger. By the way, we've got to go. Maybe we'll do a poll question on all of this to come up with the best version of the CC and ginger ale for the Ray and Dregs listeners. See what they like best. Here he is from the Vegas Golden Knights, Max Pacioretty. All right, Max, 9 straight wins for the Vegas Golden Knights. Top spot currently in the National Hockey League, although as we record the Ray and Dregs podcast here on Tuesday, I mean, there's so much volatility around the NHL that can change quickly. Look, as challenging as this year has been, and I mean, that's based on COVID, that's based on intense scheduling, all of those things, the Vegas Golden Knights have stayed pretty consistent and are really trending in the right direction at this point late in the season. So what has it been about this year that, you know, you're most proud of when you look back?
You know, you have mentioned that it's a pretty volatile league right now, and we have been steady. And I think a lot of that is our depth. I mean, we have obviously, run into salary cap problems where we couldn't dress, enough players on some nights, even two, and currently have like a D-man stepping in and playing on the forward position. And I think all of that adversity and all those different situations kind of brought us together a little bit closer as a group. I think everyone has felt a little bit more important about their role in the team, given that this year everyone's really had a chance to step up and make an impact. And I think, the fact that everybody has had the right mindset in those situations, that they want to come in and be a difference maker, it's kind of led to our team playing, differently on some nights and, being able to adjust to that and being able to win hockey games ultimately while doing so.
So the first time that you guys get pinched on the salary cap and you're going to be short a player, I can only imagine the room like, wait a minute, we don't have enough guys. Like how are you guys trying to figure out, or do you even think about it and just go, yeah, this is what we got?
It was wild because we all thought that we were like capologists, like, whoa, why don't we do this and do that? We could have played that guy. And then I guess nobody even knew the rule that you have to like miss one game and then call up an emergency. So like we were so out of touch with what the rules were, and everyone had their own opinion as to what we should do. And then at the end of the day, we kind of just were like, all right, whoever we put in here, we know that we have a really good depth in this organization. We'll be able to figure it out. But it was funny at first. Everyone, was trying to figure out a solution, and it just never came.
Right. Not qualified, eh? Not qualified.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, when you got traded to Vegas, it seemed since the moment that the Golden Knights came in, the goal wasn't just to be pretty good. It was to be the best. And then the moves that they've made since, this past summer, bringing in Pietrangelo, like, does it feel like that the bar is high?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know what was going on at the time, but I can kind of relate it to my childhood being like a Rangers fan, and like they always brought in, a top guy, and all the top guys all wanted to play there. And I feel like it's similar to, hopefully we're going to be a better organization for a longer amount of time, as opposed to, me struggling as a Rangers fan when I was a kid. But, everybody wants to play here. The first time I played here, I texted my wife after the game, and I was like, and when I was in Montreal, and I was like, I mean, I couldn't imagine playing in this place. This barn is crazy. The fans are out of control. The music, it's just, and the players feed off of it. I mean, guys come in here. We talked to Matthias Janmark as soon as he came in. We're like, hey, how do you like it here? He's like, this is the one spot I always dreamed of playing, and I can't wait to get out there, especially when we get more fans. So I mean, it's a two-way street where everyone wants to play here, and we want to bring on, the best players as well. And I think that type of culture is, makes guys really want to hold their roster spot and do whatever they can to do so, because, everyone's chomping at the bit to try and play here.
Now, you've already played like 180 games in Vegas. To me, it doesn't seem that long ago that you got traded to Vegas. Has there been a guy or a couple of guys that you didn't know that you come play with and you're like, well, that guy is way better than I thought, or that guy is way funnier than I thought? There's always a surprise.
Yeah. I mean, on the ice, the surprise for me is Chandler Stevenson. I honestly think he could be one of the best centers in the NHL. He is so fast. I mean, you can't even imagine how fast this guy is, and it's effortless. And his game is really coming on a whole new level, especially as of late. And I think he's starting to realize, like, wow, I could be a number one center in this league for a long time. And on the ice, he's really surprised a lot of people. And off the ice, I mean, me and Mark Stone absolutely hated each other with a burning passion before we started playing together. I mean, when Ottawa played Montreal, it was like, all right, me and Stoney will be going at it all game, chirping each other. And we just hated each other. And as soon as we teamed up here in Vegas, we were like, we're like brothers. We talk every day. We text each other away from the rink every day, and he's one of my best friends on the team. And it's just funny how the game works like that, is you could hate someone for so long, but the reason why you probably hate him is because he's a lot like you on the ice. And when you're playing against someone, you don't necessarily always want that.
When you mentioned that, the first thing I thought of is like, so when you're skating around, like you're always put together, like your hair is always like, you're a neat guy.
Yeah.
He combs his hair with a pork chop every day. It's like, I don't even know what the hell he's got going on there. But
it's Cosmo Kramer.
He is so.
Yeah, but he's a lot more put together than I guess his haircut. He's I mean, you should see this guy, I don't know, get around a golf course, or everything the guy does, he just wins, and he's the best at. And I could see why it'd be frustrating playing against him. I mean, they had an N64 in the playoffs, and the he doesn't play video games, and he's just beating everyone in these games. And you're just like, God, why are you so good at everything? It's frustrating for sure.
Hey, tell us a little bit about Marc-Andre Fleury and what he's meant to you guys. Certainly we watched from afar, and when he went to Vegas, it seemed like, he's kind of in the back nine of his career, and it's like he's been revitalized, reborn. It's just an amazing year he's putting together this year. Maybe talk about him a little bit.
Well, when I played in Montreal, and you hear all the stories of legends and how they handled their business, the best players that ever played, the John Beliveau, Guy Lafleur, I mean, all of them, you hear stories about they just had a presence. And from day one, when I got in the locker room in Vegas, I said, yeah, this is what, all those guys were talking about with those legends. This is a guy where he speaks and you listen no matter what, because everything he says is the right thing. And he backs it up every day in practice. I mean, you come to a Golden Knights practice and there isn't a situation where Flower's not diving and poke checking and backdoor saves and chirping guys. And I came in and I was kind of like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, he was just practicing so hard. And I scored a couple goals in one of our practices early on. And he came up to me. He's like, hey, don't be hesitant to like chirp me when you score goals. We're going to have some fun. I'll chirp you, you chirp me. And this guy is just unbelievable. And it's so nice to see him get rewarded. And he means so much more to our team than on the ice. However, the numbers speak for themselves on the ice for him this season. And it's really nice to see him get rewarded in that sense. But like I said, his presence is far beyond that.
You just went through a couple of milestones, pretty cool ones too. 800 games you're starting to get to a pretty cool number there. That's, maybe talk about how that 800 game journey has been. But, for a goal scorer, I look at him like, man, you're over 300 goals. That's pretty awesome too. You're starting to put together some really, really impressive longevity numbers as well.
Yeah, well, as you know, when you play, you kind of get these things stuck in your head. And I was so focused on, I want to get 300 by 800. I mean, in my mind, that means you get 30 goals in an 80 game pace. And I missed it by a couple of games, and I was kind of pissed off at myself. But at the end of the journey, you realize, I mean, it's all the same, right? And you're racking up games, and there have been a lot of ups and downs throughout my career, and injuries, and great times in Montreal, tough times in Montreal, and struggled here a little bit right when I came, but then found my groove and really started to fit in with the team and the playing style. So I wouldn't trade any of that, because that's obviously what makes us who we are today as players and people. And I think it's important for myself to grow from those experiences, but also teach my kids about them. They ask me all the time about times in Montreal, and obviously they're old enough now, or they've seen when I got injured. It's all over, YouTube, when they put my name in, and I think this stuff is special as a father, most importantly, because I can kind of teach them more so about the game and about life, and they're just hockey obsessed. So every time I have hit one of these milestones, I make sure that I talk to them about it first thing and saved all the pucks for them, and it's been a fun journey. I've hit a lot of milestones in a short amount of time, so I feel a little bit dramatic always getting these pucks and talking about it, but it is special at the same time as well.
You mentioned your family. How does a house with 5 younger children work? How do you guys get out the door and do your thing with 5?
Well, I woke up after a day off at 6:30 this morning, so that's the first,
right.
That's the first difference from when you don't have kids. However, I have the four oldest are boys, so they entertain each other. I couldn't imagine what it'd be like for them to not have each other, because it seems like one's going to school every day with a black eye, but they're still best friends about it when all is said and done. But it's hockey all day. I mean, we try to get them to play other sports, and they do. They can concentrate on golf for a couple hours here and there, but I wake up, I come downstairs, they're either playing hockey or watching hockey, skate, every day, every other day, a lot of ice out here in Vegas for that setup. So, and hopefully, kind of this hockey mentality will rub off on them in terms of protecting their little sister, who's the youngest one, and always standing up for her and life when needed. So we're trying to teach them that at an early age, and they've caught on to it. I think there's been a couple tussles in my game lately, so I kind of teach them the value of stepping up and taking care of your teammates and in their regards, their family, and a lot of life lessons when it comes to that stuff.
Well, speaking of family, you two guys, aside from hockey, obviously have something in common when it comes to family. Ray married to a Hall of Famer in Cami Granato, and Max, you're married to Katya, who's a former professional tennis player. Now, I will divulge my source, because I'm poking around Max Pacioretty earlier today, and I'm like, all right, I got to find something. And your agent, Alan Walsh, said, all right, you got to ask him about the time Katya, who was 6 months pregnant, kicked his ass all over the tennis court. Now, number one, can you confirm, did that happen? And was that prior to child number 1, or was that somewhere between 1 and 5?
That was pregnant with child 1. So to my defense, she had just recently been retired. And the story was, though, she beat me left-handed, and she was able to serve with her right hand just to get it in, and then played the rest of the match left-handed, and she beat me. I'm embarrassed to say. Yeah, it was ugly. Yeah.
Now she's taken some, she's, aside from now being retired and being a mom of 5, I'm really interested. I was reading she's deep into nutrition, into naturopathic nutrition. My wife Cammie has her degree in holistic nutrition. So I'm curious, at what point did the way you eat change, and how's that impacted the way that you feel and play? Because I know for me, Max, it changed everything.
Yeah, I mean, guys laugh at me in the room. They say I'm the gimmick guy. If there's something that's gonna help me in one way or another, I'm gonna try it. And I've flirted with every single diet known to mankind, and I kind of found out that there's a certain diet that kind of suits me and similar to hers as well. And I do eat. I tried vegan for a while, but that didn't work out. I just lost a lot of energy. But through all these trial and errors, I'm kind of like 80-20. 80% plant-based, 20 protein, animal protein, a lot of seafood and stuff. I would say when we had kids, my wife started to kind of do a lot of research as to what is actually in the food we eat. And we had met a lot of different naturopaths, a couple specifically that have really changed our lives, and I would say my career as well. I would say about 5 or 6 years ago, kind of when our first son was born, we were kind of adopting these new kind of lifestyle changes. In fact, my wife ended up helping create this baby formula, all plant-based baby formula, because we were sick and tired of trying to find something that could kind of fit her standard, and there was just nothing out there. So one of her close friends, who happened to be a naturopath, had come up with a good remedy, and they started this company, which has taken off because, like I mentioned, you can go anywhere in the world, and it's really hard to find the quality that they were looking for. And I've seen a huge difference in our kids through nutrition, my wife through nutrition, and also myself. I say mine is probably the easiest to gauge because I'm on the ice and I get critiqued on a daily basis, and you can kind of tell energy wise where I'm at. But when I'm around my family every day, I could see a huge difference as well. And it's something that we really value for a healthy lifestyle.
Do you like cookies? Because I like cookies, and I got to find them in the house. They're not around.
I've gotten better. I mean, yeah, one of our kids is like, if there's something sugar, he's going to find it. And I don't know. It's crazy how everyone's different. I'm not too bad anymore. I was bad at first, though. I was really bad.
Hey, you're right down the stretch here. You just a few games left in the season. Does it feel like the stretch, or does it feel like you're 50 games into a season?
It can be a little bit of both on each and every night. We played a lot of teams lately that have kind of been out of it, and those nights, especially without fans, it's just kind of been really tough to handle. We played a lot of hockey, but however, this is our first time. We had 2 days off, and then went to practice today, and we're getting charged up here to play, arguably the best team in the league, and then we're going to play Arizona 2 times, who's fighting for a playoff, and St. Louis, same thing. So I expect it to feel more like we're coming down the stretch here, these final 9 games. However, at times lately, it's been a lot, and it's a lot of travel, as probably everyone's been saying to you. And it's a different year with the rules and restrictions, but it's time to gear down now and really get ready for the playoff push.
All right, Max, we'll let you go here, but is there anything different about this season aside from everything from a hockey perspective? The Vegas Golden Knights have had so much success in the young existence of the organization in the National Hockey League. So if you even think back to the return to play and before that, does this season and everything that's accomplished give you that much more expectation or hope going into the playoffs?
Well, it definitely does. We have really high expectations. We know that in the playoffs, we're going to play, potentially there's 2 of the best teams in the league in our division. So that's going to be, we know right from game 1, it's going to be a grind, and the pressure's on and whatnot. However, like, we play so much hockey this year that when you're feeling good, you're feeling really good because you're going every other night plus, 4 and 7, crazy schedule. So it's funny. I've learned a lot about confidence in the mind this year, where if you're going well and you're scoring a couple goals here and there, you don't feel as tired as the schedule would make you normally feel, as if you're losing every night. So we got to keep, that confidence high as we roll into playoffs and try and use that momentum to do some damage.
All right, well, keep it going. You, the Vegas Golden Knights, always a pleasure and a fun team to watch. So we're looking forward to the final games here of the regular season, Max, and watching the Vegas Golden Knights go deep yet again in the playoffs. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
As we raise a glass with Canadian Club, Ginger Ale, CC in Ginger Ale, we take a closer look at the Vegas Golden Knights, Ray, and Max Pacioretty. And Max alluded to it a bit in the interview. The stuff that you learn as a player, right? He had some great times with the Montreal Canadiens. He had some not so great times. Would he change his experience? No. I mean, it was in part talking about, raising his kids and whatnot, and just the individual, the character that's developed through hard times. And I appreciate how cerebral Max Pacioretty is.
It's interesting listening to older guys who've had the benefit of the experience, both good and bad, through their career. And, look, Max is a 6-time 30-goal scorer. I mean, this year he's not going to get to 30, but he's clearly he's got 22 goals in 45 or 6 games. Yeah. So it would be another year. But he's seen 2 very rabid hockey places, but 2 very different places. He's seen great players in both places. He's seen great and high expectations in both places. Mm-hmm. And he seems really comfortable in Vegas. He appreciates playing with a guy like Mark Stone. He talks, I love listening to people talk about Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah.
So he's old enough and experienced enough to understand all that. Yet he's got a pretty full life. I mean, with 5 kids, 4 boys and a girl, that girl's going to be the toughest Pacioretty. There's no question. And a wife that started a business. Like, what a full, busy life they have. It's really cool to hear.
Yeah. I mean, so many good stories coming out of the Vegas Golden Knights on an annual basis, but Max Pacioretty is certainly among them. So thanks to Max for joining us on the Ray and Dregs podcast. Throat punch. We're getting down to the nitty gritty from a hockey perspective, and we haven't been shy to dive outside the arena on occasion. Where are you going with throat punch this week, Ray?
Well, through my younger boys who are 14 and 11, we've become fans of European football, the Premier League. We follow. My one son likes Barcelona. My other son likes Bayern Munich. Of course, as I mentioned, we follow the Prem as well. And the 12 teams that came together and said they were going to form this Super League, they get my throat punch. It's nothing but a money grab. And what those owners didn't realize was that they were going to kick up the hornet's nest.
Oh, boy.
By trying to start a league that has no relegation and no promotion. It's a closed league, kind of like we have in North America, basically, that once you're in the league, you're in it forever. That doesn't fly in Europe. My 11-year-old said to me when it was announced and then all that fuss was started, he said, they're going to ruin soccer. He's 11 and he gets it. Yeah. So they get my throat punch for, I like new ideas, but for not thinking this idea through.
It was a bad one. I would agree with that. And the reaction to it was awesome from your 11-year-old, and basically every corner of society came out swinging against this one. I'm going more to the lighter side of throat punch. Tiny, the Ray and Dregs mascot, hasn't been throat punched once in season 2. So in episode 19, Tiny gets throat punched for a couple of reasons. Number one, jumped on the bed early this morning, which isn't unusual. Tiny usually jumps into the bed about 6:30. That's just her morning ritual, just to tell us, look, I'll lay here and I'll moan and groan and you can scratch my belly, but I got business to do and I want to eat. So by 7, we're downstairs and we're doing all those things. I don't know if you can see the side of my nose.
Oh, did Tiny get you?
She got me. And it could have been a real bad one. So, she jumped up. It was accidental, but her claws are like an inch and a half long.
Well, shouldn't you get the dog groomed?
Well, they get clipped all the time, but they're just daggers. She just has big, long feet claws. And so she jumped up in her excitement. She caught my nose. And I'm thinking, if that's like in the nostril, she's ripping it open, like wide open. Now,
and so just think, then we have on the air, you with zipper across your face from a dog. Button would be, he's got a black eye from playing pickleball. Like, what are we doing?
I know. We have to be more careful. I mean, look at this. You have to protect your assets, Ray.
I don't think that would affect anything, Dregs.
Yeah. So she gets half a throat punch for that because that was more.
There's more.
Mistake. Well, the other half of the throat punch is it's turning into a nice spring here in Brooklyn, Ontario, and she can't help herself. But Ollie is a male pup, right?
Yeah.
Or is Ollie a female?
Ollie's a male. Yep.
Okay. I didn't know this when we acquired Tiny as a rescue 130-pound Great Dane, but apparently female dogs' urine is like battery acid. So my backyard is destroyed. Like, buddy, I'll take a picture because it would drive you bananas looking back there. And I'm a bit of a grass nerd. I like to have nice things. Maybe it's, growing up on a farm, all those things. So I don't know how. I've tried to fix it already. I've already topsoiled and I put the grass seed down. But so just because I have enough to do without having to redo my backyard, Tiny.
But here's the thing. You shouldn't throat punch Tiny for that. You should throat punch yourself for that.
Why?
Well, how about have an area to go where Tiny doesn't ruin the whole yard?
I know, but so you've got Ollie who's a pup, and you can teach Ollie those things. Tiny's like 7 years old. We got her when she was like 4. So you can't. It's not that easy.
Then just, you know what I suggest? Get some topsoil, put it over in the corner of the yard. And when Tiny keeps peeing all over the place, you can just resoil, resod, reseed, just keep it going.
I've done that for the local economy. I've done that for 3 years. You know what I do? I stand out there with a garden hose, and as soon as she is about to squat, I let her do her business, and then I run the garden hose on the spot for about 40 seconds. There you go. So Tiny gets a throat punch. This is just gone off the rails.
It's absurd. It's absurd to think you're out there with a hose.
I
mean, I know you got to do what you got to do, but I get it, but that's absurd.
Time for a weekly chat with Chris Abbott from Coolbet.co. Chris, what a weekend it was. I'm not a big UFC guy. That doesn't mean that I'm not entertained by it on occasion. You can't meet with buddies. You can't do anything here in Ontario. So I've got to occupy my time. There was a lot to like if you're into that sort of thing over the course of the Saturday fight card. The thing that was just atrocious was Chris Weidman breaking his leg. And he actually tweeted on social media. I chuckle because he tweeted the x-ray of the broken leg, and it was fully displaced. And then all the pins in the post-surgery x-ray, which, he's smiling. I'm in good shape. I'm assuming that things went better for the bettors and those who put money on the number of different fights, and they went for Chris Weidman in his particular battle.
Yeah, I think somebody said to me, it's the first person to ever win a fight without throwing a strike, and that was Uriah Hall. And I had put money on him just as the underdog because I had seen some people say, Weidman's been around for a while. He hasn't won in a while. We're not sure why he's a favorite. And certainly I didn't see it ending the way it did. But it's hard to watch. And if anybody does look up that clip, viewer discretion is totally advised. But The main card, all the fights got stopped early. I mean, the biggest thing out of anything, Darren, was that the building was full. Like it was, the energy was back. And I mean, that's such a big part of the fight game. And I think it really showed in the way that the guys and girls fought in the octagon. It was certainly adrenaline filled, and hopefully a harbinger of things to come as we get more people back into stadiums and whatnot. But it was certainly good. It was good for the book. Some favorites won, but there was some huge favorites, so that doesn't really hurt you too much. And then a couple underdogs chipped in to break up some parlays. So for the book, it was pretty good. For the bettors, it was pretty good. Probably about a 50-50 split, which is good for everybody.
In UFC, the end can be so quick. It can be, it can be stunning. Would you say, as opposed to the back in the day of boxing, which is what I watch more, is it more unpredictable, the ending, or is it more reliable, perhaps?
I think it's more unpredictable, and for me personally, I like to bet on underdogs for exactly that reason in the UFC, because one time strike or another thing, if you're on the ground and your leg gets in the wrong position, it could be over in a second, no matter who you are. So I think you get a lot more action on underdogs, and that makes it exciting as well. But then you'll also get other nights where the favorites, who are big favorites, just show that they are better fighters, and same in boxing, right? Like, when a guy's going to win, and that happens in UFC too. But I would say that the underdog upsets are certainly more frequent in mixed martial arts.
Let's jump to the NHL, Chris. What's the action like around Connor McDavid? I mean, I was part of the Jets broadcast where he put on yet another show, his 9th hat trick of his career. He's whether he gets to 100 points or not, we're clearly going to find out in the games remaining for the Edmonton Oilers. But it's hard to bet against him not getting to 100, as difficult as it's going to be.
It is hard to bet against him getting to 100. I mean, he's got to average, about 2 points a game down the stretch. Not something that he can't do. I will say they've got a couple of games against Montreal in there, which is a little more of a slog sometimes for highly skilled players, in terms of trying to get to the front of the net and whatnot. But there's a market up on it, over under 99.5 points, and the favorite, it's about -130 on the over, +105 on the under. It'll be interesting to see how people bet that, because you are asking an awful lot. He's undoubtedly just a freak of a player. Like, you can't even say he's unbelievable. You can't say he's the best. Yeah. It's just a pleasure and jaw dropping and unfair and all these things all at the same time. So it is hard to bet against him, and we'll see where it ends up. I'm sure he'll be awful close. He might end up with 105. Who knows?
I would think emotion will play into this, where people get caught up in the recency of his amazing run that he's on, and think, well, why can't he get to 100? And except it's 2 points a game, and it's not a beer league. It's still going to be pretty hard.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. I think if I were to place a bet, I'd probably say under, because I think you're right. I think everyone, especially in the Edmonton area, they're blowing up our Twitter. Like, can we get a market on McDavid for 100? McDavid for 100. And so they're really excited, and so they should be, right? But I'll be surprised if he gets there. Maybe not surprised, not the right word. Statistically, it'll be tough to do. And then, is there an injury? Is there, what have you? So, a goalie stands on his head a couple of nights. But they've got a lot of games left against Vancouver. They've got a couple of games against Montreal and Calgary. So they don't play the Leafs. They don't play the Jets. So it's possible, although maybe you'd like to see the Jets. And they don't play the Senators, where he's got a lot of his points this year.
All right, buddy, we should have taken... Well, sorry, I was going to say, Dregs, we should have taken odds on Chris catching that ear pod as it fell out of his ear. It was pretty smooth.
Fast pitch softball, third baseman for most of my life. Could catch anything. The throws were the throws were the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody needs to know that.
Nah. What else is on the menu this week, Chris?
Oh gosh, I mean, everything is coming up. We've got of course, NHL playoffs. We've got UEFA Champions League is on the go. UFC pretty much every weekend, whether it's a fight night or a UFC event. 262 and 263 are coming up. And then we've got, the Men's World Hockey Championship. I hope that's gonna fly in Latvia, but we'll have odds up on that. World Women's Curling. It's just a very, very busy time of year. And of course, you got the French Open, you got Wimbledon, all the golf tournaments, the Valspars this week. So plenty of betting options for whatever piques your interest.
Awesome. Look forward to enjoying all of that. Thanks for doing this. And as always, check them out at coolbet.co. Ask Ray and Driggs anything. Fire your questions our way on Twitter, Instagram, Ray and Driggs, or on our website, rayanddriggs.com. Presented by our friends at endy.ca. We are loving our Endy mattresses. We've referred friends. We've referred family. Everybody loves their Endy. And Ray, there's something special about this week's Endy ad. You know what it is? So last week we talked about the amazing pillows, the bedding. You acknowledged how much you like the weighted blanket. Guess what arrived on my doorstep on the weekend? The weighted blanket. So
have you used it yet?
Last night, Monday night, was the first experience with the Endy weighted blanket. And I'm going to say game changer.
It's unbelievable. I'm telling you. It is awesome.
You're either in that camp or you're not in that camp, though, right? And you and I, it's weird that we'd be both in the camp of the Endy weighted.
Oh, I like it. You get in there, you settle in, finished.
Yeah, me too. Can't wait. You can use code RAY75 to get $75 off your purchase of a mattress. It's fast and free shipping. That's important. 100-night risk-free trial with a money-back guarantee. It does not get any better than that. And that's why Endy is the best mattress in Canada. Check them out at endy.ca. All right. From Don. Don thinks that the Leafs' biggest challenge to win the North Division will be the Edmonton Oilers, who we talked about earlier in headlines. The Oilers definitely, Ray, gearing up for the postseason. They're better at so many positions, in Don's opinion, than the Toronto Maple Leafs, especially goaltending. Top two forwards, power play, question mark. Why do we like, or who do we like in a 7-game series between the Oilers and the Leafs? Sounds like we know who Don likes.
Yeah, I would pick Toronto. I just think they would have more production throughout their lineup than Edmonton would get, like top to bottom. And when he's saying the top two forwards, like, I don't know, Marner and Matthews are pretty good too.
Not bad. Yeah.
I know McDavid and Draisaitl, they're really the best 1-2 punch in the league. They really are. The Oilers have a better power play than the Leafs. That's not even close. That's not a fair fight. By the slimmest of margins, I would pick Toronto. And here's the thing. When you do pick Toronto, people that like Edmonton are going to lose their mind. It's the 7th game. That means they've each beat each other 3 times. It means it's really close.
All right, from Robin. Robin is asking, how can anyone pick the Vegas Golden Knights over Colorado in the West? And just in light of the fact that the Colorado Avalanche have been absolutely on fuego. And Max Pacioretty in the podcast earlier, acknowledged, and maybe there's some gamesmanship there, calling Colorado essentially the best team in the league right now. So are you picking Vegas over Colorado?
No, I picked Colorado to go to the final, and I'll stay there. I think the key to that series is Philip Grubauer, who was having an amazing year and then got COVID. And so the Avs got to hope that when he comes out of the protocol that he feels well enough to get his game and can get his game back in order. I think he's the key to the series because Vegas will get good goaltending.
Yeah. Anyone in the West that would be a surprise? I mean, I guess we could. Yeah, I mean, anyone other than
anyone that's not those two teams is a surprise to me.
That's fair. That's fair. Could Mini? Is there enough?
I don't think so. They rely large on their goalies.
Yeah,
and I don't see that being enough against teams like this. Like, these guys are fast and they're big and they score. They're good teams.
They're good teams. All right, buddy. Let's get this thing wrapped up. What's your week looking like moving forward?
Jets games on Wednesday and Friday, Leafs game on Thursday. So yeah, pretty busy week. 3 games in 3 days after today.
Yeah.
Taping a day of EA Sports in there as well. So that's 5 hours in my closet, staring at how Cammie's side of the closet looks like a bomb went off in there.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it just drives me crazy that I got to stand there and look at it. And I can't quite reach it to hang it up.
That's tremendous.
It's like a torture. It's a torture day in there.
Any puppy classes?
3 popped up on the calendar. Yep, you betcha. So I'm assuming that'll be Cammie taking Ollie to those.
No,
Yep.
I think that's improper parenting. I feel like
you're 100% correct. I'll tell you one thing. At some point, Ollie is going to get throat punched. But when I go to throat punch Ollie, this cute little 7-pound dog, I won't be able to throat punch him because he'll be stuck to my hand where his teeth have dug right through my hand.
He hasn't gotten out of the biting phase yet, huh?
Oh, those puppy teeth are needles, man. Darren Millard told me yesterday, I went on Mallard's
the
podcast. He said, use oven mitts. I'm like, really? I never thought of that.
Yeah, I know what he's saying, and I've heard that before, but then you almost encourage them more because then you get caught up in the game, right? Because it's a bit of a tug-of-war thing.
Oh, I don't want no more games. Our
No.
feet, ankles, fingers, hands. Ollie thinks it's a smorgasbord.
No, I don't feel as bad for you. I feel bad for Cammie and the boys.
Riley, the older one, Riley's really got a good way, and he seems to be able to settle Ollie down.
Yeah.
Reese, he's running for cover. He's like, he'll come in the room and go, is Ollie asleep? Yep.
Yeah.
And then he'll come in. If not, he jumps up on the back. It's like Ollie's a piranha. And
kidding.
Reese jumps up on the back and he's like, I don't want to be bitten anymore. He's had it.
See, if you end up going with Cammie to puppy class, then you'll be able to expedite the process to get Ollie through the puppy.
I should go to
biting.
puppy class, but Cammie's doing an amazing job, and I think I would just gum up the project.
I get it.
Oh,
All right,
by the
well,
way, Cammie's just leaving right now. I just got this note. I'm leaving the pup.
Oh,
So that means we do need to wrap up. So before Ollie goes to the bathroom in the kitchen and I walk out into it, I need to get in there.
Yeah. Just make sure you're not wearing shoes on carpet and you'll be fine. Everything will be good.
Thanks for that.
No, you got to help me out with this. Remember, this is some of our YouTube viewers and our Ray and Driggs constant listeners. They love this part of the show, mostly because it's the end, but there's a part of it that they especially like. So a huge shout out to all of our partners who make the podcast possible. Our new title sponsor, of course, Infinity. Thank you. Visit infinity.ca and you can book your contactless test drive. Coolbet.co, the free-to-play sports and casino games website, by our pals at Canadian Club, by OK Tire, it's going to be okay, oktire.com, by Yamaha revs your heart, right? Yamaha
Revs your heart. Am I getting it?
That's the part everybody loves.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Revs your heart. By Endy.ca. Remember to use code RAY75 to save $75 on a mattress. By Tim Hortons and their NHL Challenge game in the Tim's app. And by Tommy Gunn's original barbershop. Thanks to everybody for listening. Ray, my good friend, thanks to you. Thanks to Allie. Thanks to Rob. Thanks to everybody who enjoys the Ray and Driggs podcast. Episode 20 is going to be unique. Let's just tease the listeners, the viewers. Episode 20 of Ray and Driggs is going to be different. We're kind of moving a little bit outside the norm. I wouldn't say comfort zone, Ray, but a little bit
just
outside
different.
the norm.
Nobody that can skate.
No.
I think it's different.
I don't know about that.
Well, we'll ask.
We will definitely ask.
And if he can skate, I'm sure he's not very good at it.
He's certainly a familiar person, athlete.
Oh, stretch. You're stretching.
Maybe. All right. Well, that's episode 20. Until then, Have a good week, Ray.
Yeah, everybody have a good week. Thanks for listening. Be safe.